Hey, this is Kat from Red Mountain Shaman, and I share shamanic wisdom through dreams, visions, nature, synchronicities, intuition, channeling, art, music, photography, and shamanic journeys. Welcome back to my channel. So I did make an extra video this week, a few days ago, and if you would like to see that video, just go back and scroll through my videos. It was a message from Yeshua, and it was a pretty good one, pretty interesting channeling, if you missed that. So today, I am going to share a message that I was asked to do from a client, and it is a message from Kurt Cobain of Nirvana, and I normally don't channel celebrities. I wasn't a huge fan of Nirvana. In the 90s, I was much more into this record label called 4AD, which carried a lot of like more moodier, artier kind of music. I was really into like dream pop, shoegaze, a little bit of goth here and there. So yeah, I wasn't really into Nirvana. But, you know, after I did this message from Kurt, he actually had some really profound things to say. So I don't want this to be like a sensationalized thing, like I'm trying to, get attention from channeling a celebrity. Like I said, this wasn't my idea. A client commissioned me to do this. But it actually ended up being very profound. And I did a lot of research after, and I actually do think that Kurt Cobain was actually quite sensitive soul, quite awakened. I listened to his lyrics, and I actually gained a new appreciation for what he was doing in his music. And I know, he did say towards, the end of his being famous and stuff that it wasn't what it all chalked up to be, and that he really just wanted to maybe go into being like a singer-songwriter, and that he felt that he would age better with the music rather than just being in this like rock trend. So, and he had a really deep appreciation for alternative music that was very underground. I remember in the 90s, he wore a t-shirt of Daniel Johnston, who nobody knew who he was. He was a very obscure artist. And he wore that on some big interview, I think. And so he really had an appreciation for underground music or underappreciated music. So, and as you know, I'm a musician myself. And so this was all very interesting and enlightening to me, because I've always wondered about the music industry. And, my husband and I, we were on like a smaller label, and then eventually we turned down a label, and we just decided to go completely independent. And we just felt that that was the best way for us to go forward producing our music. So everything that my husband and I do is completely independent. And I'm going to draw a card at the end too, and I asked for Yeshua to draw a card, for Great Spirit to draw a card. And this card actually talks about independence and how it's really nice to be able to create and not be beholden to controlling forces. So I'll read that at the very end if you want to stick around for that. So before I get into Kurt's message, I wanted to share a couple things that I noticed are kind of things that I've channeled in the past that are kind of coming about. And one was I shared that there's the organic path versus the artificial path. And Yeshua kind of likened it to the poison apple versus the organic apple. And I noticed a video by Dr. Berg. I don't agree with every single thing the guy says, but he does have a lot of good info. And he has a video called "They're Poisoning Us Legally." And this video is about that they're trying to pass legislation to kind of outlaw any lawsuits where people are harmed by chemicals or things that's in our food. And then he also has a video about, I think it's called something like Chat GPT is BS. And he goes through, actually, I think that might be another doctor, Dr. Eckhart. And then he talks about who's sponsoring ChatGPT and why they have certain health answers when you Google certain things or you ask the ChatGPT certain things. And he went through and he proved wrong a bunch of things that he asked in ChatGPT. So be very careful about what you're Googling about health stuff. And I would do multiple searches. When I was searching about information about the injections for my son, anything negative about it was suppressed by the search engines. So I had to learn the hard way, and he was in and out of a wheelchair for about 4 years. So I learned the hard way about that. So just putting it out there for you guys. So the next thing I noticed was I remember in a video a couple weeks ago that I told you guys I saw some geothermal lava activity under the water near Japan. And then this week I saw that there's actually a full-on volcano forming, and it's almost like creating a new island or land mass. And a few years ago, I also got a message from Spirit that I shared on one of my videos, and it was about that the landscape of Earth would be changing. So I think they're actually talking about the physical land masses will be rising and falling. So hopefully this will happen in a way where not too many people will be affected by it. Then I remember I talked about this red dragon that I saw over Japan, and it was like flying over the ley lines. And Carrie Kay put out another video this week about what this dragon is doing, and that it's this huge mega dragon. And it made me feel really good because sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, am I going crazy? I'm seeing a red dragon, So it's nice that another psychic person is also seeing the same thing. I don't feel like I'm nuts. So go watch her video. It's super fascinating. Then I remember I pulled a card a week or two ago, and I remember talking about looking at the artwork on this oracle card, and I said it looked like the Aurora Borealis and the card, and I said, oh, well, maybe we'll experience some more of that in the coming weeks. And I guess this week there was Aurora Borealis visible from Canada and I think 18 states in the U.S. this weekend. So that was pretty interesting. So before I get into Kurt Cobain's message, I just want to say that I never let any beings inside my body to take me over and channel that way. What I do is the first thing I do personally, because Yeshua is one of my main guides, I call in Yeshua first, and I ask Yeshua if it's a being that's safe to communicate with. And so I called in Yeshua, and he said yes. This being actually would like to talk more about the music industry, and he does have an important message. So I trust Yeshua, and so I did call in that being, and he did come in of his own free will. And so when I channel a message, it's more of like a telepathic communication between me and the being. They are not in my body. So just to let you know, and I don't recommend anybody doing that. And I also do protection. I set intentions. I do a lot of spiritual hygiene before I communicate with any being. So I just wanted everybody to know that. So without further ado, this is what he said, and I typed out his message, and this is what I heard. Message from Kurt Cobain, August 4th, 2025, the machine behind the music industry. Before he speaks, he shows me a very famous image of himself and asks, "Can you see the pain in my eyes?" I had a promising career. I was very passionate about my music, and it came from the heart. When I started to become more famous, I continued to write from a place of authenticity. I wrote about what was disturbing me about the industry I became caught up in. There were all sorts of handlers and layers of control over me. Consider yourself blessed that you never got sucked into this arena of evil and corruption. Because of the seemingly angsty energy in my music, they thought they could market it to young people easily, and they did. As you know, because you were there, Seattle became a hotbed for this new trend of music. I was just making music that was real for me and came out of my own personal experiences and emotions. I came from a poor background and depressed area. Even the weather had an effect on my mood. Making music was a way to express myself and get out of my trapped emotions. But when the handlers started taking control over my music, my life became controlled as well. I felt like my life was not my own to live as I pleased, and I was and am a very free spirit. I want people to know that from what I saw in the music industry, there is a very dark presence that has overtaken the freedom of those who create music. If you do not submit to this control, it is extremely difficult to make a living making music on your own. This is because there is a monopoly within the industry. Now that I can see from a higher perspective, I can tell you that nothing is what it seems. When you see musicians suddenly rise to fame, it is usually because there is a machine pushing them. Nearly everyone who rises to fame has made compromises. When you have a machine pushing you, it is also funding you, so you become beholden in a way to those who back you. It is not only money that is the name of the game. It is also about control. Music is sacred, and they know this. Music can influence people with emotions, ideas, and sometimes they even push their own agendas into the music. This depends on the artist and what kinds of contractual obligations they have made with the machine behind them. What I really wanted to say today is that the authenticity within music has been hijacked in many cases. Those who have something deeply spiritual to say that could awaken consciousness would hardly ever be considered by the machine. The entire rap culture was also hijacked by the machine, who turned it into a way to suck people into a mindset of violence, hypersexuality, and materialism. There is more to this scene than meets the eye, and the people at the top are doing everything in their power to keep their rings of corruption hidden. The one that was on trial is just a face to distract from those who are involved, and the network runs deep. I myself was also pulled into a network of corruption, lies, deceit, and ultimately controlled. I felt as if I had no way out. I knew too much. I was too much of a rebel and too much of a free soul. There came a point when I could no longer live in such circumstances. Those around me and those close to me did not know me for who I really was. They saw me as a commodity, as someone they could use for their own gain, as someone they could manipulate. And I saw through it, but it was too late. By the time I realized how deep into this dark machine I had gotten myself into, I could not see a way out. I'm sure you remember the stories. Nobody took my life but myself. And I take responsibility for that. It pains me to have made that choice, but my life was no longer my own. I felt controlled and manipulated on every level. Fame did not sit well with me. Many people think fame will be the end of their problems, but in my case, it just created more problems. I was also married to someone whom I felt dominated by. There were power plays that I was not interested in. I got swept up in a romance just like I got swept up in the music industry. These were opportunities that seemed promising, but were ultimately very destructive to my peace of mind, my free will, and my creativity. But I got a beautiful daughter out of it, and I regret not being able to raise her into adulthood. She still has a piece of my soul. Although I chose to extinguish my own physical life, as you can see, I am still existing, and I still create, and I still have thoughts of my own in which I can freely express. My oversoul chose to experience such a life on earth, and I have learned many things from my short incarnation as Kurt Cobain. I have crossed over. I have done a lot of healing. I have been awakened to many things through my earth experiences. I am looking forward to seeing more freedom of expression on earth, minus the control and manipulation the dark side has had over the arts. It will look like there will be new ways of operating within the arts, and creativity will once again be held in the highest regard and supported in new ways. The dark spell that the creative fields have been under will be lifted. The attack on the arts was really an attack on creation. Music is such a powerful way to bring in truth, self-expression, new perspectives, and new creation. Do not let the world of artificial intelligence take over the human process of creativity. Embrace your humanness. Embrace your imperfections. Be authentic. Let your true essence come forth out of your creations. Don't let the machine continue to overtake society as it overtook me. There is so much to be said. There is still so much to be created by the human soul. I did everything I could to remain true to myself, but the shows had to go on, and I was no longer the one running my own show. When we allow others to control and run the show for us, we fall out of touch with our true selves. And this is what I felt was happening to me, and this feeling became unbearable. I was unsure how to deal with it and how to get back to my true self. No amount of fame or money would be worth going down that road again. Next time, I would say no to anyone who wanted a piece of me or anyone who sought to exploit me. There is going to be a lot of things coming up in the music industry because this machine will start to break down as more people awaken to its true agendas. Prepare yourselves for the end of an era, because a new renaissance of creativity is about to begin, and it will be supported in new ways that you would not expect. I am thinking about coming back because it will be a very exciting time for music and all of the fields of creativity. People will be able to express themselves without having the puppet strings of the machine pulling on their every move. I have been doing work on myself in order to release these strings that bound up my energy, joy, and free spirit. I am free again. Thank you for sharing my story. And by the way, I really enjoy your music. Keep going, keep creating, no matter who hears it and who acknowledges what you do. The pure, simple joy of creating is all you need to keep going. I'm sending my love and encouragement to all who continue to make music in a world full of artificial songs and machine-backed mega artists. Keep doing what you do and never bow to the machine. It will eat you alive. Thank you, Kurt. So I did a little bit of research after this channeling, and I did find a lot of things in interviews. And there was one thing I thought was really interesting. It was a nanny that supposedly had worked for him and Courtney for about 5 months. And she came forward, and she seemed really afraid to share this information, but she said that from what she saw, she didn't want to be there, and so she quit. And she said that Kurt was basically controlled every minute that she could by his wife. So take that as you will. This is just for entertainment purposes only. I don't claim any absolute truth on any of this. So the card that I drew today, and the question I asked was, what is the card that would best kind of complement this message from Kurt? And it's from the Earth Warriors Oracle deck by Alana Fairchild. It's card number 15, called Anya Durga, the Power of the Good. You never need lose faith in the power of good. You never need lose faith in how much you can accomplish as an independent and inspired individual in this world. You need never believe that you are alone or without divine protection. You need never fear evil. The third eye of the Divine Mother sees all things, is ever watchful and ever just. She births through holy vision the manifest power of good in all realms. Her gaze is upon you now. Trust her. Believe in the power of the divine to keep an eye on things for you. Trust that power to alert you when you need to know something or to understand what is happening in your life and what you need even if you aren't sure of that for yourself at times. Be active in contesting negativity. And my husband and I, when we decided to turn down this record label, it was kind of a tough decision, you know. I mean, it wasn't a huge record label or anything, but it just felt like we wanted to be completely free and independent, and we wanted to own our whole catalog of music. And also, we did some music for a film recently. And when we saw the film, I wouldn't say we weren't happy with it. We were just kind of like regretted it a little bit because it kind of had a vampire theme. And then that same person asked us again to work with them again, and we actually turned it down again because we wanted to be involved in films that are more of higher vibration. And so we just said no. And so it's okay if we don't, if a door closes, I think that it's not meant for you. I always say rejection is God's protection, and sometimes you're rejecting something as well, and that helps you to stand in your integrity. So I'm going to continue with the card. Be active in contesting negativity. The moment you feel something isn't coming from love, acknowledge it immediately. You don't have to make it about you or analyze it. Use your divine connection to deal with it promptly and effectively. Call for divine support in all things. You will not divert help away from someone else if you ask for it yourself. When you allow yourself to be helped, this empowers your path, which in turn helps all beings. Divine assistance is always there for you unconditionally. If you are not thinking the best thoughts, divine support will correct your thoughts. Never hesitate to call for that support. It is your greatest ally. Give up your attachment to past experiences of rejection and abandonment so that you can open up to how much the divine loves you and can help you. Practice feeling the confidence and unconditional trust in a higher power, knowing it is stronger than all else, or stronger than the world, what the world is offering us. And then the spiritual guidance. In the Hindu pantheon of divine beings, Durga shines bright as a powerful warrior goddess and protector of the good and true. She is the unified potency of all divine forces of goodness against negativity and evil, an icon for independence and divine power of the light. Durga is the solar mother who shines bright, restores order, and protects the human soul by destroying impurities such as jealousy, hatred, anger, and selfishness. She is creative, inventive, responsive, and powerful. Once a particularly adept demon looked like he was getting the upper hand in a battle with her. So Durga promptly birthed Kali out of her third eye. Kali, the black goddess, ferociously destroyed the demon immediately. Durga is the invincible one. The Sanskrit word for Durga means fort, a place that is protected in battle and unable to be overcome. Durga's power animal is the tiger, indicating her unlimited power to protect virtue and destroy evil. And when I read this, it's making me think of the music industry and and even the art industry and all of these industries that have kind of hijacked creativity and used it for their own gain and their own agendas of evil. She is bright, she is swift, she is unconquerable goodness. When Durga comes into view, you have been fighting against negative energies at some level of your being, whether obviously in the world or more deeply within your soul. If you do not acknowledge this, you may fall prey to unnecessary confusion and self-doubt, believing that the issue is solely a psychological matter to deal with. Rather, it is a spiritual issue, requiring divine intervention and protection, which is now offered to you. It is helpful to remember that evil is not about people, but about the forces that operate through them with ill intent. Durga is an inextinguishable light, and she is rising within you now. Her presence reminds you of the light that is divine and true, and therefore cannot ever be subject to any lesser power, such as hate, fear, jealousy, spite, or greed. No matter how intimidating an opponent or situation may seem, They are no match for the sacred rage of the divine goddess of light and justice, who vanquishes the evil that haunts their souls and perpetuates distress. Durga is your ally, your divine weapon, your refuge, and your vital energy for sacred purpose. Do not allow yourself to be intimidated. You can be confident within yourself and go about your work. You need not explain yourself or justify your actions to anyone other than the divine and your own heart. Do not turn away from any obstacle. Believe in the power of the divine to clear the path for you. And Ganesha is another good Hindu god. I really don't think they're God. I think humanity looks at these beings as gods, but I just think they're really like ascended beings that are great teachers and have a lot of wisdom. The path shall be cleared. Believe that you are held in the fort of divine light and protection. Let that confidence and trust in the divine goddess of goodness radiate out of you like a shining sun that fills your heart, your mind, and your belly, or whatever you choose to create in this world. Let that also radiate out of you. If your confidence has diminished because of past attacks or encounters with those who are so toxic that they cannot or will not recognize the difference between constructive communication and verbal, emotional, psychic, or physical abuse, then take heart. Or the narcissists of this world, right? You are blessed with the divine intervention, protection, and healing. Your confidence and sense of personal and spiritual power shall be fully restored and will actually increase through this experience of healing. You shall discover the peace and confidence that comes from the realization that love can never be conquered. And then it has a little healing process. Say aloud, unconditionally loving light of Durga, bless my endeavors and my relationships with your divine light and protection. Hold me in the fort of divine goodness where I am unharmed. Your beauty and truth shine light into any darkness, keeping me safe and blessed in grace. May your divine justice prevail, so be it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that message. I think it's just a message of not giving into the control or power that these dark forces use, sometimes through other beings, to keep our creativity down or keep it controlled, and remaining sovereign, independent. And I've always felt like that is so important. And if something feels off, I just want to stand in my integrity, even if there's money involved in it, and say, no, this isn't aligned with my vision or my integrity. So that being said, my husband and I do have 2 records coming out, hopefully in the next month or 2. One is a meditation record, and one is just our band called Paladine. And if you'd like to hear, we have 7 records out. If you're curious about them or you'd like to go check them out, you can hear them for free at the Bandcamp website. Just go to Bandcamp and type in Paladine. It's spelled P-A-L-O-D-I-N-E. And you can hear our music for free on there. You can also download for your own collection if you'd like to do that. So I wanted to thank everybody who donated this week. It really helps us to keep going. We're, like I said, we're just musicians, and I do healing work, so it's just not really a lot of money. So any little bit helps. So we really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And if you haven't donated and you enjoy this channel, you can go to my website. It's redmountainshaman.com. And the PayPal is at the bottom of the contact page. And on the contact page, you can also learn how to book a session with me if you're interested in readings, energy work, and then there's all sorts of other services that I offer on my services page. So I hope you guys have a great week and take that message to heart and remain sovereign, remain independent, remain creative, remain human. Take care. Till next Sunday.